All right, good afternoon. Today is day 76 of our class. As of right now, there's nobody joining me, which is totally fine. But I did want to mention a couple things before we start. The first is I sent you an email earlier this morning, probably about a half an hour ago. I don't know. Um, Evan had shared this survey link, and I'm going to just open it right now. There are actually two surveys that you are to fill out. Do not do number one, seated course. Do not do number two, internship course, but do numbers 3 and 4. Number 3 is an online course evaluation survey. If you click where it says link, it'll bring you to the survey. You go to course code AWD. I should be underneath here. Scott Jeff. And this is your chance to say what you think. If you think the syllabus didn't map up with a course, then put that down. If you think the learning objectives weren't good, if you don't think I was knowledgeable about the subject matter, etc., that's all up to you. Plus, at the very bottom, there's 3 questions that you can answer. Please provide a comment for any statement above that you marked as strongly agree or strongly disagree. A method or teaching strategy that my instructor used to help me learn was, other comments or additional ideas. You can be as positive or as negative as you think you need to be on here. I'm by no means telling you what to do. All right. But the other one, and I'm sorry, I just went right past it. So let me open up again, because the other one that I would like you to please do is the graduate survey. All right. And again, not much in here. All right. Your first and last name. Now notice it says personal email address. Don't put down, if you've got one that's a non-ranking, please put that down. If you're going to graduate, on the 13th, and you don't have a non-ranking email address, please go out and get one. For me, like ideally, my would be something like jeffscott@gmail.com, but that's taken. jpscott@gmail.com, etc. Your personal phone number, this is all saved, not by me. I don't get any of this stuff. This is so that, you can sign up for different things at Rankin, and they've got your stuff in here. For the major, you should be able to put AWD there. Are you working in the field full-time or not, etc. I'm not going to keep going because it makes me fill it out to do this. But please fill that out as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing, today I'm going to go over a little bit, probably for about an hour, no more than that, and might be less. For the AWD1000 class, I've spent the last 5 periods giving them both an introduction to React, and I've gone over some more advanced JavaScript programs. You can see the 5 associated GitHubs right there. I've got the first one, it's got 3 programs on it up on the screen, and I'll bring them up in just a minute. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to go over chapter 17 from Muroc, where it says attached is one last optional assignment. Well, one of the things that you were supposed to do for your electronic portfolio, and a couple of you have even turned these in already, but you were supposed to go and take one or more of your ASP.NET assignments and put them out on Azure. That's what chapter 17 is about. Now, Evan has already done about a 36-minute lecture on that. That's right here. I will be trying to replicate his lecture tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last lecture. Wednesday, Thursday will be lab. Basically, the class ends then. All right, there'll be no more taping. Also, please, your final hands-on test is due tonight. All right, there's still 1 or 2 of you who have not turned it in. If it is not turned in by tonight, you will lose mucho points. All right, your e-portfolio is due Thursday, along with any other late work by Thursday, both by midnight. I need them by then so I can get them graded and turned in, because my grades are supposed to be in early Friday morning. That's it on that. This is Evan's thing. Like I said, it's how long is it? 35 minutes, 42 seconds, where he goes and takes that chapter 16 authorization and authentication that we did and he did, and he puts it out there on Azure. All right. I'm going to watch his tonight and try to replicate the steps tomorrow. All right. So again, I've got day 1 intro to React, day 2 intro to React, day 3, day 4, and day 5 intro to React. Day 1 was absolutely no React. What I did, and this is kind of an FYI for you, is when we got into the JavaScript portion of the class, what we basically did was they had a test where they had to create a website. The first page of the website had to have some kind of an image on it. The second page of the website was some text, possibly an image, possibly a YouTube video on how to play rock, paper, scissors. The third page was the actual rock, paper, scissors game itself. And the fourth page was you had to create a form, a rock, paper, scissors form. So this was the first one, and this is fairly simple JavaScript. I used combinations of get element ID if there was only one of them, and a query selector all if there were multiple. All right, there's a for each loop where we iterated, as it says, over button choices to determine the button that was chosen. And these are just simple, regular, old-fashioned vanilla JavaScript functions in here. Here we're creating a number for the computer, a random number between 1 and 3. If it was a 1, the computer chose rock. If it was a 2, the computer chose paper. If it was a 3, the computer chose scissors. All right. Then to determine the winner, this didn't happen. All right. We didn't get the computer choice until we had made a choice. All right. So once we did that, we determined the winner. Again, if the two were equal to one another, you know it was a draw. So we said draw, and we incremented the draws counter. Otherwise, we had, if it was rock, if we had rock and the computer had paper, okay. I'm sorry, if the computer had rock and we had paper, we won. So we added 1 to users wins. If the computer had rock and we had scissors, the computer won. So we added 1 of the computer wins. If the computer had paper and we had rock, the computer won. If the computer had paper and we had scissors, we won. If the computer had scissors and we had rock, we won. If we had scissors and the computer had scissors, oh, that looks like it's been and all the different combinations. Then I just updated the thing on the screen, basically. All right, so if I run this, pretty simple program. Right now, when we did it in class, we went through a lot more. We added graphics and stuff, but here, all I'm doing is it's a running rock, paper, scissors game. That's it. Computer isn't doing very well. It's doing a little better. All right, so that was the first one. Then second, so let me close this. The second one that was in here then, it was more of the same, except for the fact, notice it says in here, handle click, etc. All right, so what have we done? Well, we used a switch statement in here. All right, we took quite a few lines off the program. We also used some of the DOM methods. We used the create element method in here where we actually built everything on the fly. We also have a string array of the different choices you can have. All right, and then we appended, so we basically drew on the screen. All right. The other thing we did, and this is pretty similar to what we did before, but when you figured out, what I did was a switch where we combined the user choice and the computer choice. If it was rock, rock, paper, paper, or scissors, scissors, it was a draw. If it was scissors, paper, rock, scissors, or paper, rock, we won. If it was paper, scissors, scissors, rock, or rock, paper, all right, the computer won. Then we just displayed the totals. So again, in many ways, what you find when you look at this is basically it looks exactly the same as the one we did before. There we go. But since we're drawing it on the fly, when we first bring it up, there's just the 3 buttons. All right. And I played with font sizes and stuff on here, as you can see. All right, the third one that was in here. So let me close this. And this was the third one. This one was, again, much more of the same. All right. We use some query selector in here. Okay. And notice what's in here. We called get results. We passed eTarget, HTML, etc. But it's very similar to what we'd already done. And again, if you run this one, you'll notice that it looks very, very, very similar to what we've already done. Okay. Again, not a lot of new stuff in there. What I tried to do too for each one of these, every time we had one of these, is, except I guess for the first day or two, is I tried to provide some URLs too. So that was the first day. Not a whole heck of a lot. Second day. All right, you'll notice I have some URLs in here. Okay, some stuff from the Mozilla website, how to use HTTP, how to use fetch, getting started with React. They've actually got a big section in there on React. So for those of you who want to go back and take another look, you can do that. Brad Schiff, now this is not Brad Traversy. Brad Schiff has got some really good stuff in here on React. I grabbed basically his to-do list, and you'll see that in a minute, although I made some modifications. I grabbed Brad Traversy's XHR and fetch examples. All right. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. I tried to give attribution when I took someone's stuff. I tried to be honest with you and let you know I took someone's stuff. So here's the, let me bring this up. There's going to be 2 copies of this. They look exactly identical to one another. All right. The only thing that's different is in one case here, I use the fetch API and I explained, so what's happening in here, when you use the fetch API like this, you've got to do an open, you've got to load it, you've got to send it. All right. And when you do fetch, it's simpler because it's just one thing that you've got to do. But if I run both of these, what you're going to notice is they're going to look identical to one another. So here's the first one that's done with the XML or XHR request. So if I put in here, for example, 27, 27 is the number of countries in the European Union as of August 2011. If I change it back to 2, 2 is the first magic number in physics. If I put a 1 in here, all right, you'll notice when I get to a certain point, it either says it's an uninteresting number or it's a number for which they have no facts, and you can submit one if you want to. All right. If I go back and rerun this, but just change it from numbers 1 to numbers 2, which uses fetch, it looks the same. All right. So 34. Okay. So you can see this 3, etc. All right. Fairly simple examples, but they're meant to provide for you, if you need to see something along the lines of, hey, how do you do an XML HTTP, also known as an XHR request? This is how you do it. All right. How do you use fetch in JavaScript? So both of these are going out to the internet and they are grabbing an API. They are grabbing the numbers API. So in other words, if I do go out here on the internet, if I go out here to numbersapi.com and I put /3, 3 is the cost in cents, all right, to make a $1 bill, in the United States. All right, if I change that from 3 to 37, all right, the number of plays William Shakespeare is thought to have written. If I put in a number again that's just real big, it's just going to come in there and and say it's a number for which we're missing a fact. So what we're doing is, rather than coming up with this pretty ugly interface that you get with the API, we created our own and made an API call one time using an XHR request and one time using fetch. Then I've got the to-do list in here. All right. And it's pretty simple. This is based off Brad Traversy's. However, there are a few things I put in here that he didn't have, such as if you've got nothing in here, all right, it says no to-do item added in the text box. So there's nothing to add. With his, even if you put nothing in there, you can add it. All right. On the edit, notice in here it says edit the to-do. So if I change this to mow the lawn, now it changed. Also with delete, with his, boom, you click delete and it was gone. Here I say, are you sure you want to delete mow the lawn? And if I don't, it's still there. And if I do, it's gone. And if we take a look at that particular example, again, the HTML is pretty doggone simple. It's a form with just that stuff in it, and then we're calling the to-do. Now with the to-do, I tried to put in here, again, I say where I took it from. I give you a thing in here for an alias to use, but it's all the code is in here. This uses local storage. So you'll notice that if I come in here and run this, and I open it with live server, and I add something, buy groceries, pick up kids. All right. So you can see I've got a couple in there, and if I refresh the screen, it stays there. All right. If I get out of here, which is what I'm going to do right now, and come back in again and run the program again, you'll notice that buy groceries and pick up kids are still in there. And the reason for that is what we used in here was local storage. And remember, when you use local storage, you can either retrieve from local storage or you can save to local storage. All right. And I tried to be the way I wrote this was very deliberate. There's a lot of examples or a lot of comments in here. I said everything that was being done at any major time in here as well. Feel free to use this stuff. All right. I basically gleaned what was off the internet. So if you want to use my stuff, go ahead. Totally fine with me. All right. So that was day 2. Let's take a quick look here at day 3. That's when we actually, I believe, first got in and actually did some React. All right. So let's see. I found this thing online. To me, this was one of the better things that I had seen as far as articles about React. And I know there's not hundreds, not thousands, not even hundreds of thousands. There are probably millions of articles out there. This wasn't the one, unfortunately. So let's see. I think this is it. Let's see if it is. Oh, this was just why we should learn React to begin with. Because what I did was I talked about that. And, basically what the author said. So if you ever apply for a job and there's React in it. Somebody says, okay, why do we even use React? What's the benefit? This was a free code camp article. All right. React is flexible. As it says, it's a library. It's not a framework. You can use it to do a lot of different things. I don't know if you'd say it has a great developer experience. I would put it this way. React does an excellent job. All right. It has an excellent community. So if you've got questions and the like, there are tons of people out there to give you help on an as needed basis. React, it has Facebook support because it was written by Facebook. Again, it has broad community support. It does have great performance, and the great performance all goes along the fact that it uses the virtual DOM. In other words, unlike regular JavaScript, which when you have to go and update the DOM, it redraws everything. All right. React is more like Ajax, where it uses a virtual DOM, which is a copy of the DOM, and it only goes and rewrites what has to be rewritten, not everything. So it works a lot faster. It's fairly easy to test. Now, many of these articles will also tell you that it's easy to learn. Again, draw your own conclusions on that. I went back and rebuilt both of these, the BMI program, which we did in class, and the rock, paper, scissors program. I went back and rewrote both of them in React. Now, why does it say that's empty? That isn't good. So let's look. It says these are both empty. So I'll have to find out where they are because I don't want, and I grabbed that from the internet. So those should not be empty. So let me see if I can find them and I'll go post them out again on the onto the internet. Grab and look here. That's the one I just showed you. And of course, those are empty. So I don't want to give you those. Let's see while we're waiting. This was actually a pretty good article. What exactly is the use effect for in React? Because they go through a lot of other things and they've got a running example where they use a counter. Kind of neat. I'd like to show you part 3 before I go on to part 4 here. Because I did go back and rewrite both of those in React. I don't know where this stuff is though. Let's see. See if I can find it this way. There are also, if you go out to my site, my playlist for the AWD 1000 class for this semester, you'll find there's a presentation for each one of these days that's about anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours long each. All right, we spent approximately 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours on this. Boy, oh boy, I don't know why I can't find this. Well, I will look for it. But my goodness gracious. Let's go into 4 and then we'll come back. So this was day 4. And let's see, I did a calculator twice. These are the ones that we basically went through in class. So let me show you. Open it with code. And under source, app.js, here was the code. All right, and if I go in and run this, remember we run these differently when they're React. We do an npm start, and that'll bring it up on port 3000. So here's the first one. This was a very simple calculator. If you try doing this and you have nothing there, you have zeros. Notice it doesn't let you divide by 0 or modulo by 0. If they're left blank, you must enter a value. If only one is blank, you get the same thing. So if I put 783 in here and 19, I can add them, subtract them, multiply them, divide, and modulo. All right. And again, hopefully you can tell by looking at that, they all work. All right. So that was a very simple calculator. And then we went back and we rewrote this. All right. And we rewrote it as a quote real calculator, unquote. All right. This was one of the assignments that you had. So when you look in here, what you see now is under source. Not only was there quite a bit in here in app.js to go through the stuff that we had to do, but there's also quite a bit in the app.css. All right. And when I did this, I was doing it during or watching the Packers, which is my team, or watching the NFL draft. So if I open this up, git bash here, and I come in and run this, you'll notice there it is, but it's in Packer colors. So 563 divided by 12 equals, there's your answer, which I put to 2 decimal places. The complete answer is over here. Times 5 equals minus 14 equals plus 51 equals, etc. You get the idea. All right. Let's see if it found any more for these. There were also in here, as it says, more React URLs. You may or may not remember, but the calculator that we did used eval. And I mentioned that there are even articles out there, eval is evil, and I found a couple of them. This is the one I mentioned before. It's from iBoss Logic. And there's 2 versions of this on here. So for React, and there's like 17 lessons in here. I took lesson 1, this one, and made it into a Word document. All right. But I didn't do it with the rest. So you'll notice these are all lessons on React. All right. So again, as I mentioned, I took lesson 1 and made it into a Word document and then linked to all the other ones. Now that is in here, and so is, just an FYI, it was updated for 2023. All right. I didn't think it was as well written. Maybe you read it and think it's better written. I don't know. But that was in there as well. Look in here and see if it ever found anything. It's the only one it found was that one. So I'll have to find the day 3 stuff. I've got it someplace. I just don't know where. All right. And finally, then we had day 5, which is what I went through today. And we did 2 of the apps that we had done in class again. The first one was this weather one. I made some changes from when we all did it together. You may or may not remember this. But I added the picture of whatever the current conditions were. So if you come out here and I put in, for example, Wentzville. All right, it says it's 59 degrees with clouds, and if I make this smaller, there it is at 100%. It's got the feel-like temperature, the humidity, and the wind speed. If I change it again and put in, how about London? All right, they have clouds as well. How about Nashville? Everybody has clouds. How about Miami? They have clouds. How about Gulfport, Mississippi? Clear. So you can see the little icon. All right. All of that is in there as well. Okay. And then finally, the last one that I did today. Oops, I shouldn't do that. So let's see. The last one that I did today was the movie one that we had done as a class. Now, just so you know, in order to get that movie one to work, I had to go in and I had to make a couple changes. All right. And so what are you talking about, Jeff? In the package.json file here, I had to change the start and the build. I had to add this stuff that you see here and that you see here. So the minus open SSL minus legacy minus provider. Something has changed since when I wrote this code with you guys last semester and right now. I was getting an error message, and this was one of the fixes that was provided for it. So if I bring this one up, and again, do my npm start, you've already seen this, of course. So there's the Avengers. Again, I come in here and put in Harry Potter. All right, I get all the Harry Potter movies. I come in here and put in Lord of the Rings. And I get the 10 or so Lord of the Rings movies. If I highlight, click on one of them, I get the genre, the plot, all right, the director, the cast, etc., the title, the year it was written, the rating, all that information is in there. All right. So the only one, and I'm sorry, I wanted to show you this, but I don't know where the heck it is. All right, and that's in here. Still only found that one. And it's still looking in here. I will try to find the rock, paper, scissors I wrote in React and the BMI that I wrote. I wrote both of them in React. I've got them someplace. I'll just have to search for them. Okay. I'll put them back out there. So again, last time, if you do go out, bring up today's email, please again fill out this survey. Please fill out the graduate one and the course one. And again, I'm never going to probably see most of you again. All right. So please be honest. You know, if you wanted to go and rip me up to shreds, you can do that. Also, if I have not mentioned this to you before, shame on me. But if I go out to rankin.edu and I come in here and I search for Rankin connection right there and hit enter. Okay. Let's see, career services is right here. In there, there is a thing where you can sign up someplace in here for the Rankin connection, an online database. All right. So, you go in there as an alumni, then you put in your information, and you can even have them filter it so you just get stuff in the IT profession. All right. If you have not already done so, please go out to LinkedIn.com. And if you don't have a page out there on LinkedIn, please put one out there. All right. For instance, here's mine. You don't want yours to look like mine. I understand that. But typically you put a picture in there. All right. This is, if you look in here, if I go and click on the, where is it? There's my experience. All right. So you can see there is my experience as an instructor here, where I was in Janesville, the fact that I spent a year as a programmer analyst, another instructor, all right, and my 4 years that I had basically when I was a programmer for Bell Labs. I even went back till I was 16 years old, all right, and have my stuff in there. But regardless, all of you should go in and have a LinkedIn page where you've got information about yourself. If you want, friend me. Then when I see something, I will make sure I get it sent to you. All right. You also should have on your portfolio a non-Rankin email address. All right. If I find out about any jobs, boom, I'm sending them out to you. All right. As soon as I get them, you have my 100% guarantee on that. All right. Let me look one more time on here. Well, what do you know? There's some more stuff. My guess is if I look in here, there's the, okay, good. Oh my goodness. Do this. Bring that up. Son of a biscuit. Oh, well, I'll find it again, but it was in there. The rock, paper, scissors was in there. And the, so let's see, rock, paper, scissors, react. It looks like there is stuff in at least one of these. Okay, that is in there. So can I go back up now? No, it doesn't let me do that. Okay, I'll find these and I promise you I will put them out there. So again, if you have any interest in this at all, go out to, my GitHub. So github.com. All right. And I've got in here, as I mentioned, in fact, let me show you it this way. I've got these 5 repos. I just went over 4 of the 5 repos with you. I'll find the information from day 3. I promise you, I'm going to look for it right now and repost that out there. So you'll also have written in React a BMI calculator and rock, paper, scissors. You'll have that in just a couple minutes. I will be back tomorrow for about 1 hour. When I come back for that hour, I am again going to try to put the steps in here. Now, this is the last thing I want to say, and that is you were told on your hot 4 stuff that you were supposed to at least try to put this, I'm sorry, not your hot 4, for your portfolio stuff, you were told to try to take your ASP.NET stuff and not just have a link that went to your GitHub page, but also put that out on Azure. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. If anyone watching this tape does the exercise that I provided for you today, I did provide it. It was in today's email. It looks like this. Demonstrate your finished case study from AWD1115. You can take any of them. You can do that. You can do your hot, the last hands-on test. But if you do this stuff that's right here, it's a chance for you to pick up 50 more points. Now, you don't have to do this stuff. You can. All right, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35. So how many points is this part worth? 10, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 65 points. If you put that out there. If you want to go and do a PowerPoint presentation, you can. Probably few of you have the time to do that, but if you have an interest, feel free to go ahead and do that. So I will be back tomorrow. I will be going over chapter 17 in the book. I just showed you the last optional Azure assignment, but if you do not deploy one or more of your projects out to Azure, you will lose points. You will lose points on your final electronic portfolio. All right. And finally, again, after tomorrow, all right, your final hands-on test is due tonight. As mentioned, there's one or two of you who have not turned it in yet. If you don't turn it in by tonight, you will lose points. All right, over anything that you got wrong. Your completed portfolio, any late work must be turned in by midnight on Thursday. All right. Finally, again, please fill out the online and graduate surveys. I will be back tomorrow, last time, to go over Muroc Chapter 17, and we'll attempt to take and deploy something out there to see how it works. Just in case I run into problems, go ahead and watch Evan's video. It's about 36 minutes long. I've watched part of it. I'm going to watch the rest of it later today. All right. Other than that, I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.